Today we are with Pierre from Simple Plan, one of the biggest band ever. So, welcome to Spain, and how is to be back here?
It's awesome. Just got here yesterday, and yeah, it's nice to be out of the Canadian cold for a minute, so it feels good.
Spain has always been really supportive with you and the band and everything, but you are starting here your tour. But why is Spain the first stop?
Um, I don't know that there's a particular reason why. I think that we have to go everywhere. So the person booking the show, he books it like this, and we end up in Spain to begin with. But it's nice. I mean, we've always had a great relationship with our Spanish fans, and I think we have a very loyal fan base here. So it's nice to start somewhere where it's familiar and people know us.
And your first stop is Madrid, but what can your fans all around the world expect from these shows?
I think expect to have a good time. You know, it's about the music, it's about having fun, it's about and the shows are pretty small. They're not too big, so it's nice to have intimate good times with the fans. But yeah, it's really about having a good time and enjoying ourselves and playing some old songs and some new songs and just getting to see the fans again.
And now we are talking about the shows. Which song are you most excited about playing live?
Um, I like Farewell. It's one of the new songs off the new album, and I think it's got a good energy to it. It's fun to play live, so I'm excited about that one.
And last week you released your new album after 4 years, more or less. But your fans will be asking, why did you take so long?
It's I think we're just trying to make the best album that we can, and it takes a lot of time. I mean, it's funny. I see a lot of bands that go in the studio, and 3 weeks later the record's done and it's finished, and that's great. But we're slow. I think that it's very important for us to make an album that we love. We don't want to regret the album. We don't want to have songs out there that we don't like, and I don't know why we're slow. So, but I think it's important for us to make sure that we love the album, and looking back, I think that we needed that time to make it. So we toured for 2 years, and then we made an album for almost 2 years, and that's how we're here.
And Taking One for the Team is the title of this new album, but what's behind that? It's a way to show how strong the band has been now?
I think that being in a team, in a sports team, is very similar to being in a band. There's a lot of sacrifices, a lot of people, a lot of opinions, a lot of things you have to do, and you have to sacrifice yourself for the greater good of the team. So we felt like it was a very strong parallel between that and being in this band, and we felt like it was a name that felt very appropriate. We've been together for over 15 years, and along the way we've had to make a lot of sacrifices, and we've had to take one for the team a lot of times. And it just felt like the right concept. Plus, with the album concept, if you look at the pictures, it's a sort of a team-based album. So.
And after so many records, so many years together, you stay true to yourself in the album and showing also satisfying your fans of all these years. But is this the perfect album where there is a balance between the past and these new times?
I think so. That was kind of the goal of the record, was to make sure we had that we had something that would satisfy the fans, and plus ourselves. I like pop punk. I like the style that we grew up listening to, and I like the style even today, even at my age. So I think it was very important for us to have a lot of cool songs that were high energy, but at the same time, we also want to allow ourselves as artists to create something different and to try different things, and that way it keeps the records interesting. I think it's fun that every one of our albums has something new, as opposed to being always the same thing. So when you listen back as a fan, you can go through the albums and sort of get an idea of what was going through our minds at the time, and yeah, so that I think it's cool, and I think we did really achieve a good balance, and I'm happy with it.
And we know lots of things can happen in 4 years, more or less, but all these things must have had an influence on your songwriting process, right?
Yeah, I think that life changes, and a lot of things have happened in the last 4 years in the music industry, and in our personal lives, and I think that that's the cool thing. I mean, I guess that would be we're very slow in making albums, and it usually takes between 3 to 4 or 5 years between albums. But what's cool is that things change in between. So I think every album has a very distinct feeling and a very distinct sound to it. But yeah, definitely there's a lot that has happened, and I think you can really hear that in the album.
And I know it can be difficult, but in the album, which is the most special song for you?
I think to me, Perfectly Perfect has a really deep meaning for me. I think in my relationship with my wife, I think it makes a lot of sense, because I think, like most people, including myself, and a lot of people out there, and my wife, I think that we all see ourselves, we all see our flaws, we all see the things that we don't like about ourselves. We look in the mirror and we see, like, oh man, my chin is not so good, or my hair is this or that, and I think that for me, when I look at my wife and I see the things that I like about her, and I don't really care about the things she doesn't like, and they don't really bother me, so when I hear it, it really strikes a chord with me on that sense, and I feel that it's a cool song.
And in the album, we find different collaboration, but if you could pick anyone alive or even dead, which song would you like to share with them, or which artist would you pick?
I really like Tom Petty. I've always liked him. I think he's got a great vibe, great sound, and is a great songwriter. He's always been able to write very simple songs, but make them not boring, make them special, and that's something that I try to do with my music. And I think that it would be cool to collaborate with him, and it's possible he's still alive. So we'll see.
And of all the songs of music history, which one would you like to write or sing originally?
I think "Wouldn't It Be Nice" by the Beach Boys is a song that I find is pretty genius, pretty amazing. Once again, in its simplicity, and I love the way it was recorded. I've seen the sort of the documentaries about Brian Wilson and how that was recorded, and the movie that he was in. I forget what that Mercy, I think it was called. Yeah, that Love and Mercy, just Mercy. I forget. But yeah, so that would have been a cool one to be part of for sure.
And we are curious to know, if your name was in Simple Plan, which name would you think you have nowadays?
As a band, I'm not sure. I never thought about that. I think that Simple Plan has become such a part of the legacy. The legacy, that's a big word. It's been such a big part of the history of the band that I wouldn't be able to disassociate it. I'm not sure. I'd have to think about that for a long time.
And in 2002, you released your first album, and in that time there weren't any social media like nowadays, like Twitter or Facebook. How do you think it would have been this beginning with the type of media we have nowadays?
I think it would have been, I think everything would have adjusted and everything would have been similar. I think that it's interesting for a band like us to have survived and lived through the change, because I think back then there was a lot of more questions and a lot more mysteries and a lot of things that you couldn't really understand, or there was a lot of things that we just didn't know. Sometimes even I remember when I look back at how big the band was and how many albums we've sold, and back when we were in it, we didn't really realize it. Whereas now, if you're big, you just look at your phone and you look at your Instagram followers or your Twitter followers or your Facebook page, and you know exactly how big you are, and you know where you're big. You can find out what countries you're more played in. Where before it was kind of a little bit of a mystery, which I think was cool. I think I like the fact that now we can share our lives with the fans, and we can have immediate feedback about all this stuff. It's pretty cool, but I think there was something special about the fact that we didn't know, that there was parts of our lives that the fans didn't know that we couldn't share with people. But I think that both worlds are interesting, and both ones are cool for different reasons.
And some of your Spanish astronauts send us some questions like, what Simple Plan song do you like the most and what album?
I think one of my favorite songs is "Welcome to My Life." I think there's something about the way that song was written that I remember when we wrote it. We were in Vancouver. I used to live there for a few years, and I was in a hotel room with Chuck. And I remember when we finished it the first time. I had my little computer with some speakers, and we recorded it there. Obviously, just a demo, but I felt like we had something really special. And I remember that I recorded it. I sang it, played the guitar, programmed the drums. It was just a little demo, and I sent it to my manager, and I sent it to our label and the band and everybody for them to hear it. And everyone was like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." And I felt like, "Really? It's not better than that, isn't it? Isn't this song great?" And they were like, "Yeah, I like it." And then after that, it became a really big hit for us, and I think it's probably one of our sort of very important songs for the band. And I think it's cool that Chuck and I really felt like this was great, and then some other people were like, "Man, I don't know, it's pretty good." So I felt like we had a good vision of that, and yeah, I think it represents the band well, and I think it's a song that connected with people on a lot of levels, and yeah, I think it's the connection that it made is very special to me.
And which pop punk band are your favorite, and if you know any Spanish group?
I don't know any Spanish pop punk bands. I think I might know some, but I can't think of them right now. But my favorite pop punk bands would probably be Blink 182 is always, a classic. I've always liked Fall Out Boy. Fall Out Boy are different now, but I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I feel like they're one of the biggest pop punk bands. It's really cool. I like Yellow Card. I like there's new bands. I like State Champs. I like Neck Deep. I like who else is good out there? I like a band called Hit the Lights, pretty good. And Paramore, early pop punk stuff's really good stuff. They're all good.
And just to be finishing the interview, from the day you started your career, which is the biggest challenge you have faced individually or as a band?
I think the biggest challenge of being in this band is probably being together this long. Trying to figure out what it is that we can do to keep our music fresh, and to figure out. I think with the years, when you're younger and you start the band, there's no real expectations. There's no direction you have to follow. You just do whatever you feel like. And with the years, I think there's a lot of people expect certain things, and we expect certain things of ourselves. And I think that when you have success and you have good things going, it's you want to keep that, and you want to. Suddenly the microscope is on you, and suddenly it's a little bit more daunting as a feeling, and that makes it harder. But I think when we figure out the equation, and when we figure out what it is we want to do, and we do it right, I think it's even more satisfying, because it was harder. And so making albums, I think now it takes us more time, and we have to figure out how to do it. And because we've said so much stuff, we've already written all these songs. We've written Welcome to My Life, we've written Addicted, we've written Jet Lag, we've written Summer in Paradise, we've written Your Love Is a Lie, we've written Untitled. All these songs that we've said such important things. I think it's hard to figure out what it is we can say now that doesn't sound like we're repeating ourselves.
And the last question, now you're in Spain, you have released your album last week, and you are starting your new tour. Which is your next big dream or challenge you want to accomplish?
I think just making more albums, doing it again and finishing this tour. I think it's going to be hard. With the years, we have so many fans everywhere. We have to play a lot of shows. We're doing 5 weeks in Europe, and we're not even doing half of what we need to be doing. So we're going to do Europe 5 weeks, and we're going to go and do Japan for 10 days. We'll come back to Europe for a month. We'll go to South America. We'll go to Australia. We'll go to everywhere. And then we have to go again, because this is just the first show. We want to do it again. So I think the challenge is going to be surviving the tour.
So thank you so much for the interview. It's been a pleasure, and I hope everyone goes to this new tour.
Yes, thank you very much.